So many questions. Do we have the answers? Find out on Comic Book Canon. Welcome to Comic Book Canon. It is Friday. We are back again to give you all the geeky goodness that you can handle. It is a hot one where Chris is. It was also his birthday. So everybody, I'm going to bring him in right now. Wish him a happy birthday. He deserves it. Happy birthday, Chris.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you all. It was you're right, man. I got the party hot for my birthday, but just because it's a scorching 107 degrees over here. But yeah, it was fun. Still celebrating today, and glad to be here with you and all of our awesome viewers.
Yes, we're glad to be able to celebrate with you and tell you happy birthday. So that being said, this is going to be an abbreviated version of Comic Book Canon. We're not going to go the full hour or more tonight because Chris has family members to celebrate with, and we want to wish him the best. That being said, you're going to get a double dose of us next week. We are going to have our regular scheduled program on Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, and then we're going to have a very special Fandome, DC Fandome event where we're going to cover all of the news coming out of there next week. Details to follow. Please follow along this with us on Instagram at Comic Book Canon. We'll get you all the details and info on when that will be. Chris, I'm excited about Fandome, as you are too, right?
Absolutely. I got to grab like a whole 12 jumbo pack of popcorn, and I'll be popping popcorn all day long.
It's going to be a long one, people. It's going to be like 12 hours, literally 12 hours of nonstop, and we need it. We are thirsting for some action. We're thirsting for some news because it's been a dry summer, and it continues because it's not that exciting of a news week. Lots of take this news with a grain of salt. Chris, get us started, shall you?
Yeah. You know, like you said, a lot of rumors in the air. I'm excited by what we have to talk about, though. I will say that it's interesting stuff. Starting off with all the Spider-Man fans. I know we got two big ones in the building between me and you, Jeff. So how about some Spider-Man 3 news? Maybe. Rumor, fact. We don't really know yet, but there has been an announcement circulating online that the new title for Spider-Man 3 has been revealed, and that is Spider-Man Homesick. Keeping up with the home theme, that's been the talk since the release of Far From Home, that they were going to keep home in the title of the third film somewhere. Now, this was leaked from a composer putting this information on their resume. What that means, I don't know. I don't think anybody knows at this point. We did have Esquire and Maximum Magazine running with this and publishing this story, but there's really no way of differentiating fact from fiction right now. We know that Marvel Studios is extremely tight with their information. We know that the issue with Endgame being circulated around before it was officially announced, Marvel and Kevin Feige was really hard stating that we have not agreed on a name yet. That's not it, and then it ended up being Endgame. So there could be some hope here. But again, it's nothing that can be confirmed. Jeff, what do you think about Homesick as a possibility?
Well, before we get started, we have to admit, we have to let everybody know that there is another Spider-Man fan watching as well, Isaac Maynard. Don't forget you have a big Spider-Man fan right here. We know. Trust me, we definitely know. What do I think about Homesick? I don't care. I mean, Far From Home was like, to me when I first heard it, but I saw the movie and I thought it was phenomenal. So I have high expectations for the next Spider-Man film. I just think they've done an exceptional job, and that's what I want it to be. Honestly, the title, unless there's some sort of meaning we need to dissect from the title, I'm good. It's fine. Homesick, whatever. Because, I mean, it does make sense to a degree because of what happened. Right. They left us on that cliffhanger where Peter Parker is revealed to be Spider-Man to the world. He can't go home right now. He's got to figure this whole thing out. I mean, that's like, how is this going to work? So I guess it makes some sense because he's on the run. That maybe we can assume that, right? I don't know. But But either, I'll take it either way. It doesn't matter.
And you're right. You're absolutely right. It fits to what's probably going to be happening. I'm kind of with you though. It's like I'm like about it. I do feel that Homecoming was very strong, and we know that Homecoming is a reference back to the comic books. And then Far From Home, I just think is actually like isn't there another movie that's similar to Far From Home with a bunch of talking dogs or something like that? Far Away from But it sounds like a movie title. Homesick doesn't grab me though. But like you said, who cares about the title at this point? I want to see this movie. I'm extremely excited for it, and I can't wait to hopefully be sitting in a movie theater enjoying it.
I'll leave it on this note. We're lucky to have Spider-Man in the MCU because he almost went away. So let's all just be grateful. Who cares about this title? And It's not even a thing. Who cares? All right, moving on. But actually, before we do move on, Collecting Chaos. Hey, back to you. Thanks for joining us and thank you for watching. Oh, Isaac, again, I don't care about the title. I just want the movie to be good. That's all. Again, completely agree with you, Isaac. 100%. All right, continuing with this kind of meh news week. It was reported by comicbookmovie.com that, we know this by now, but it's looking like there's going to be a Batman Beyond movie, all right? We kind of all guessed this in a way that Michael Keaton, it's not official, he's not back in the DCEU yet, but he is in talks to reprise his role as an older Bruce Wayne. So the thought is that Michael Keaton would be this mentor, as we are kind of used to seeing in Batman Beyond. In the DCU, so Terry McGinnis would be the Batman of the DCEU. Michael Keaton again would be kind of this mentor figure for Terry McGinnis as Batman and potentially other heroes throughout the DCEU. And that's again grain of salt kind of thing because Michael Keaton has not officially signed on to reprise his role as Batman. Again, we have Fandom coming next week. Let's hope we can maybe see some of this action, some of this news kind of coming to fruition, because we would love to see this. We would love to see an old Bruce Wayne mentoring a Terry McGinnis kind of figure. But Chris, what do you think?
I think this can absolutely work. I think it also allows Warner Brothers to play around with a multiverse, and I think we've talked a lot about the DCEU over the last couple of months. And you got to be empathetic with Warner Brothers' position right now with them saying, look, we have this whole universe that has kind of failed us in many ways, but we don't want to scrap it and start over. That could set us up for even more failure. But you have all these elements in place where it looks like they're making really good decisions. I don't want them to rush into a multiverse, but I think we have something really awesome with Matt Reeves as Batman. I really am excited for that. I really think it's going to be something magical. And then to bring Michael Keaton back as Batman in any form. And we talked about this before in our shows before there was any announcement. Like, if we do some kind of old man Batman or Batman Beyond, who's got to play Bruce Wayne? And it's Michael Keaton. So whether it's a standalone Batman Beyond film, or whether it's just tying him in. But what would make it amazing for me is if it was a standalone film and it took place in the 1989 Burton universe, and then they somehow utilize the multiverse to connect that to the DCEU that we know.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike Sears brings up a great point. Bruce Wayne should not ever get old, and old Bruce Wayne is not Bruce Wayne. To an extent, I agree with you, Mike, because I want to see a traditional kind of DC universe on the big screen. I want to see that Batman that's as old as Superman, that's as old as Wonder Woman. Well, that's aged like Wonder Woman in that kind of, or Aquaman or Flash, those kinds of things. I would like to see that, but DC is at a fork in the road right now, right? They cannot mess up. They have to take the right steps to right this ship. They've released some decent movies. I'm not going to say they were like amazing, mind-blowing movies, but they've released some decent films. They're getting they're getting on track. They have no room to slip up. And this is kind of a progressive kind of idea, outside the box idea. I'm not opposed to it myself, but they better be careful.
Yeah. That's very well said. You're right. It's like everything they do is going to be under a microscope. And I do think that if this happens, it has to work so well. And yeah, I don't even think this can't be a Aquaman type of success. I mean, Aquaman made $1 billion, but it needs to grab us. It needs to have that resonating, feel to it, to where we're gonna want to walk out of that theater saying we want to come back for more.
That's what Marvel's been doing for over 10 years now.
Yep.
DC, I felt like I loved Man of Steel. I thought Man of Steel was a great film, and I was like, sweet, that's a good solid foundation, and they just couldn't build off of it. So we'll see. It's nice to have this kind of 90s nostalgic feel with a Batman Beyond. But speaking of 90s nostalgic feel, Chris, a lot of people are going to be happy with this news if it comes to fruition. And this is probably the most solid lead we have in terms of news this week. So this is exciting. Go for it, Chris.
Yeah, you read my mind on the most substantiated evidence of just something being out there, and that's talks of reprising or not rebooting, but bringing back the X-Men animated series under Disney Plus. So this news has me just going bananas here, because if this happened, I think it's going to be extremely amazing. We did have Heroic Hollywood reporting on a more than a rumor. It's an official talk that was discussed by Larry Houston, who was the original producer of the series, that there is talks with Disney right now. But not to burst your bubble, those talks are very, very minimal. Houston went on to say that the talks are basically the producer saying, look, Disney, if you want this to happen, we are all in. Houston has also talked with the voice actor, George Buza, who played or who voiced Beast in the show. He said he's talked with the entire cast, and everyone is all into coming back. And boy, would this be awesome. And I have to say, if this does happen, it absolutely has to be with that original voice cast, because, for one, I mean, Cal Dodd is Wolverine. He's got to come back. Rogue, all those iconic voices of these characters. If this show is contracted to come back under Disney, if it's not with the original voice actors, they should just call it a different X-Men show, because it's not going to be the animated series. But it looks like this is something that can come to fruition. It seems like a lot of people are on board to make this happen. We just got to, petition Disney to say, hey, like, this would be not only a moneymaker, but I think it would really, really bring more fans on board to Disney, especially to the Disney Plus streaming platform.
Couldn't agree more. My buddy Adrian, my daughter and I watch this now. I used to watch it as a kid. Adrian, so many people watch this show. It opened the door to the X-Men becoming mainstream. Nobody heard about the X-Men before this show. Nobody. It opened the door for people to collect comic books. I mean, Isaac says it perfectly. He's like, there you go. Look at that. Oh, wow. That's a nice, crispy looking one. Man, if they have the X-Men animated series come back, that will get so many fans wanting to read comic books. I just hope they don't screw it up. I love this show. There's a lot of pressure for the production crew if this happens, because there are high expectations to be had. This series was phenomenal. Again, it really introduced a wider, a huge audience to who the X-Men were. They became mainstream, led to the movies, and helped bring superhero movies like to the forefront here. They X-Men revived the superhero movie after the disastrous Batman and Robin, right? I mean, we can go into that whole thing and kind of extrapolate how this happened, but X-Men, this cartoon series, you can kind of pinpoint as a reason why we're where we are today in terms of, just all of this content, superhero content, and all these characters we love.
Yeah, to that, I was watching a panel that all the voice actors did. I think it was 1 or 2 years ago at a con, and George Buza was saying that one thing that he really enjoyed about the script, and I think he realized as the show was progressing, the depth in the context of how they were bringing these characters to life, the multiple dimensions of what they were, going through and experiencing, and how much of a mature level it was, and I think that's why, like, people our age that grew up watching it as a kid can go back and watch it again and just really enjoy it all over again as an adult. And I have them all on DVD. And I remember it's probably been about 8 or 9 years since I watched them again with my kids. And then I recently started watching the first season again on Disney Plus. And I'm seeing that, as an adult, even though it was made for kids, and you can wake up on Saturday morning or come home after school and enjoy this show just like you enjoy Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Transformers or whatnot. The depth of this show, I think, was revolutionary for its time, and why it stood the test of time. And I think, again, if you keep that sort of writing and production value behind it, it's going to bring in all those old school fans and really speak to the younger generation as well.
Yeah, I'm excited. I really hope this happens. And I know more than just me. I know you and hundreds of thousands of other people. One thing I did forget, going back to the Batman Beyond story, did want to mention that Batman Beyond's first comic book appearance was in Batman Beyond #1. That is a really, really popular book, hard to find. 9.8 on average are going $554, but recent sales are going for $1,500 for 9.8. A raw copy is averaging 419, but recent sales also have it at 619. Keep an eye on this book, people. If you have it, you are very lucky, especially if these rumors come true, where we will see a Batman Beyond in the DCEU. All right, moving on. Speaking more DC, we all know that DC Fandome is happening next week. We mentioned that we are going to have our own special following the event as well, going through all the good stuff and talking about it with you guys. Before we mention this fandom news, it's kind of important to know, or to kind of say that DC had a major restructuring last week, where they cut a third of their editorial staff and most of their DC Universe streaming staff. That is gutting a ton of people, and it's very unfortunate that these people were laid off. Is this a testament? Is this any sort of indication towards DC as a publishing unit? Not sure. In my opinion, I think it's more. It shows that AT&T doesn't know how to manage this amazing property that they have in DC, the characters, all the IP. So it's something to keep an eye on. Really weird timing, given it was less than 2 weeks before Fandom, but it's something that we should announce. Chris, I don't know if you have any more thoughts on it yourself.
Yeah, I mean, from the outside looking in, first off, everyone's like freaking out. And, I say this humbly. I'm not trying to point a finger at fans and people that don't understand things from a business standpoint. But you guys have to not be reactionary to these things, because this doesn't mean that, and I've seen so much since the announcement. Oh, that's the end of DC Comics. We're going all digital, or we're this and that. It's just like, take a step back and chillax. First off, I do feel it is strictly a business move, and it could be a very positive thing. There's a lot of similar stuff going on the Marvel side. Look at Kevin Feige basically disbanding Marvel Television, bringing under everything under the Marvel Studio umbrella, and he's now in control of Marvel Publishing, and you're seeing some of that going on there. Here's the thing. I think the difference is trusting Kevin Feige, most of us can. And when we look at someone like Kevin Feige and Marvel doing it, we could say, okay, this is a restructuring. It's a business move. Yes, maybe people are losing their jobs, and that's not a positive thing for those people. But overall, for the industry, for the company, it's a key business move that means more success, and it's going to mean giving the consumers more of what they want. So we have to first look at what DC's doing as that. But to Jeff's point, we don't have any kind of foundation to trust what DC, the property, has been doing. So this can be a positive business move, but they have to have the right people in place doing these things for them to actually come out on the other end And that's the big mystery right now, and why we have to kind of keep our fingers crossed, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you and I, we say this all the time. We want this industry to succeed. We want comic book movies to succeed, whether they be Marvel, DC, Independence, what have you. DC has, you know, they haven't done as good a job with Marvel. Granted, Marvel has Disney as a backing, you know, as their backer, but AT&T, I don't know, you know, and things like Jim Lee, he was stripped of his publisher title. He's only going to be chief creative officer, I do believe. So who knows how this is going to happen, how this is going to play out, but it's something we feel like we needed to mention before we move on to Fandom. Again, weird timing, 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks before Fandom that this happened, but we'll see. But speaking of Fandom, they announced that their schedule, which it's going to start at 1 p.m. Eastern time, all the way to 1 a.m. Eastern time. So that's a good 12 hours of just nonstop panels. And some of these panels that kind of stick out are they kick it off at 1 p.m. Eastern time with Wonder Woman. Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot will be there. 3 p.m. By be there, it's all going to be virtual, as we know. 3 p.m. Is going to be the Suicide Squad cast and James Gunn, the director. 5:45 p.m. We're looking at a Snyder Cut panel, so I'm sure they're going to be releasing some sort of footage there. 6 p.m. Eastern time is Black Adam. I mean, The Rock said he was going to be there. I think there's going to be a major reveal. I think we could all bank on that. 7 p.m. is going to be an Aquaman panel with James Wan and I think Jason Momoa. 8 p.m. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. The segment we had last week with Chris Killian saying how pumped he is for Props or Slops. He gave props to this video game that's coming out. We should all be excited about it. 9:30 p.m. is going to be the Batman panel with Matt Reeves, and it goes on and on and on. I mean, Chris, this is going to be a major event. And if there's any indication from the teaser that they showed us last week, we should all be excited about it.
I think that this is the most excited I have been for anything DC since the announcement of Man of Steel. Or walking out of Wonder Woman and thoroughly enjoying that movie. But this is on a whole nother level. I mean, look, you think about, again, all that we've been through with DC over the last 7 years trying to create this DCEU. And I just, like we've talked about, I think they are on a positive track forward, and there's so much there. So take maybe this pandemic and things that have happened to allow this all to come about in this way. I think it's really going to be beneficial for DC. I think when we come here and do our special and we talk about everything that was revealed and unfolded, I think it's going to be awesome. I think we're going to be excited. We're going to be like chirping like birds in the morning. I don't know. It's just, I'm very optimistic about this whole thing.
I am too. Christopher Barker has an interesting take, though. He says, "Let the comics die." Not sure I would agree with that, but okay. I mean,
he sounds like old Luke Skywalker. Let the past die.
There you go. That's a good comparison. You know what? Mike Sears agrees. I don't know where all this negativity is coming. I don't want to see those comic book die, man. I love it. I love the new comic book releases. I just want DC to get back on track, especially with their movie properties, which they should be taking from. Go ahead.
I got to say something real quick. And here's the thing. And I just watched a video by YouTubers Thinking Critically. Okay. And I don't necessarily agree with everything they said. They made some good points. The title of the video was like the end of Marvel's failing, or the end of Marvel, whatever. And they talked about these similar things, the restructuring that we see DC doing right now. And I was reading it through the comments, and you get so many people focusing on why comics are doomed. And you can tell that you get kind of older heads saying they're doomed because of this. You get younger heads saying it because of this. And what's funny is that there's a trend among multiple different types of collectors of why comics are like dying or this or that, when I'm going to challenge everyone. We can come back maybe a year from now, maybe 2 years from now. I think we are at a pinnacle point in time for comic books when it comes to the physical books, the new books that are coming out every week on the shelf. I think that the comic book industry has been in a limbo phase over the last decade or plus, or you can even argue since the breakdown of the mid to late 90s. I really think this restructuring that's going on from the big two, the emergence of what we see with Boom and Image and all the independent companies, I really think that Marvel is going to have properties. First off, they're going to, not Marvel, Marvel and DC are going to have the right people in place, the right structuring and property that's really going to speak to so many different sorts of collectors and readers. And I think in a year or two from now, we're going to be eating our words, because I think the younger generation is going to be happy. Folks our age are going to be happy. The older folks are going to be happy, or at least more happy and content with what we're going to be seeing hitting the shelves every week.
Yeah. We're going to, in like 2 minutes, we're going to get to why the comic industry is healthy. The actual physical comic books. In 2 minutes, Isaac Maynard, if you really want to say the comic book industry is dying, look at the numbers. That's how you know if a comic industry is truly dying, because last time I looked, it's healthy, more healthy than it ever was. I mean, got to agree with you there, and I think we have some proof on this too, because that's all we have for news this week. But now we are going to move to our top 10 hottest comic books of the week based off of Cover Price's sales data. CoverPrice.com tracks all sales data for all back issues, all current issues, and is able, through their algorithms or what have you, is able to come up with the top 10 hottest comic books of the week, the top movers, the top shakers. It's a great site. They don't pay us to say this. We use it as kind of like a stock index. So once again, here we are. We are moving on to our top 10 hottest comics books of the week. We don't do it like the other kind of channels where they go through all of it and dissect each one. We are more of a variety show. We talk about all of the news, all the topics that collectors are interested in, and we kind of just dissect it into 3 issues. Specifically, Chris dissects it into the 3 most interesting issues he sees on the list. Here we go, Chris. We have the top 10 hottest comic books of the week. At number 10, we have Thor number 4, the second print. I do believe that's the first cover appearance of Black Winter. Correct me if I am wrong. At number 9, we have Venom 26, which is the first appearance of Virus. At number 8, we have Venom Lethal Protector number 2. Number 7 is Thor number 5. Number 6 is Bounty Hunters number 1, the second print, and it's the first appearance of Nakano Lash. Number 5 is Ice Cream Man. Number 20, the Dr. Seuss variant that sold out very quickly. Number 4 is Captain Marvel. Number 18, the first appearance of Lori L. That's Captain Marvel's sister. That was number 1 last week, I do believe, the regular cover. Number 3 is Dark Knight's Metal, Legends of the Dark Knights, number 1, cover B, first appearance of Robin King. This thing was selling, I think, at upwards of $300. It was insane. Number 2 is Amazing Spider-Man 375, the first appearance of Anne Wying, a.k.a. She-Venom, for reasons we will find out in a second why this is hot. And at number 1, we have Dark Knights Death Metal, Legends of the Dark Knights 1, cover A. This is the first appearance of the Robin King. Chris, if the market is not healthy, why are these top 10 issues all within the past few weeks going bonkers? I mean, that Dark Knight Legends, that was just insane. Anyways, I'm going to let you can answer that right now. But we have so much to talk about. I want you to get to your top 3, but like that's right there that the market is pretty healthy.
Right. I think before we get into the top 3, I think the argument is why the market's healthy. I think different sorts of collectors will argue that, it's a speculator's market, or fans aren't buying books anymore. People don't read comic books anymore, or, the kids aren't into comic books anymore. There's so many, but I think that all of them are pretty null in a sense, or the stories are crap. Or here's the thing though. I think this top 10 speaks to a multitude of things that are still happening that are healthy. I think that the Death Metal being at number 1, I know there's a first appearance there and everything, and there's speculative hype around it, but this has been a storyline that has been hot because people are reading the comics, and I'm going to get more into that book in a minute. But so I really think you can look at this top 10 and say, look, there's speculative value. There's Independence, there's DC, there's Marvels, there's first appearance, there's books coming back from the 90s that are on it. People are still collecting comics for a multitude of reasons. And I just think we should probably clear the air with that and say, look, people are buying comics for whatever reasons they want. I'm going to get into 3 reasons, though, why I think these 3 specific books are hot and why people are buying them. Should we get going on it?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm seeing some comments in here that I'm finding interesting that I wouldn't mind addressing, but let's just get into it right now. What do we got?
Okay, yeah. Let's go through the 3 first. Yeah, I mean, and I will say, Jeff, this is a topic that we can maybe do a special show on sometime, just
100%.
talking about this stuff. But okay, I want to give a shout out to the Independent, Dr. Seuss cover swipe. I love Dr. Seuss books. I used to wrap them to my kids. But I just think it's awesome to see a book like that on this top 10. That's kind of my runner-up. But my number 3 pick is Bounty Hunters #1, second print. This is the first appearance of Nakano Lash, who is, we don't know the details yet, but, well, unless you read the story. This is some type of relation here with this character to Boba Fett. And I do feel there's been a lot of hype around this run specifically because of The Mandalorian and because we know that Boba Fett's going to show up in season 2. But now let me talk about why I think this book is hot, not just for speculative reasons. Look, this is the world we live in today. We watch TV shows, we watch movies, and then we want to buy the comics, not just for speculating to flip, but because we get attached to the characters. And what were we just talking about? X-Men, the animated series. Look, people our age, we were doing it 30 years ago. We were coming home after school, waking up, watching Saturday morning cartoons, and we were recording these TV shows on our VCS tapes and, rewatching them over and over again. And then we would go down to the comic book stores and we would buy the comic books. And like you guys, I showed here, I don't know if you want to bring this up real quick, but this book was the book that I bought off the shelves, X-Men Adventures #1, because I was already a fan of X-Men, but when that show hit, oh, it was all over, and I had to go grab. When this came out, I grabbed it. So again, going back to my number 3 pick, same thing here, guys. People aren't just specking on books because they want to flip or they don't have their heart in comic book collecting. Like, I'm telling you, after I watched Mandalorian season 1, I wanted to go read more about the Mandalorians. So that's why I think this book is really hot right now. I love that it's up here. We haven't had too much Star Wars stuff on the top 10 lately. I'm glad it's there because I'm a big Star Wars fan. I think this series is going to continue to be really hot. I do have Bounty Hunters number 3 right here. I do have 1, 2, and 3. I just haven't read them yet. So moving on, though. Number 2 on my list is a classic, Amazing Spider-Man number 375. I always loved this cover as a kid. I have 2 copies. My son has a copy. This is the first appearance of a character named Anne Wayne, who was Eddie Brock's ex-wife. Now, this book is getting hot because of what's going on in the Venom run right now. Apparently, we do see her in Venom 27 appearing as a quote-unquote she-Venom. So this, people are going back to this book. It's the price has been increasing. We have a high sale at $145 in a CGC 9.8. So that's a decent value for this book that a year ago could find for a couple dollars in the back bins. Really cool gold light type of foil type cover, and classic Bagley art. Spider-Man. Anytime Spider-Man's on this list, love it. You have this issue, right, Jeff?
I do not have this issue, actually.
Okay.
Believe it or not, but you're right. You could have found this anywhere in like dollar bin books. Like now, it's going crazy because of all the ties that Donny Cates has. Like Donny Cates, his reach is so far, and he's blowing everybody's mind. So that's why I'm excited to see that this book is hot, definitely, because Mark Bagley is phenomenal.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Okay, so number one on my list is the number one on the top 10 list in sales this week. It beat every other book out, and that's Dark Knights, Death Metal, Legends of the Dark Knights. Number one, first appearance of Robin King. And going back to what I was just saying about this book, look, this storyline for when did the first metal book release? 2017, I believe. We're going on, I think, like 2.5 years here. And these books have just been hot. And it's not just because of first appearance and all this. People are reading these stories, and there are stories that are still reaching people at a level that's just blowing sales out of the water. But then you got a new announcement of Robin King, or a new character, Robin King. We know that people are after those first appearances right now. But again, that's nothing new. You know, we were doing that back in the 80s and the 90s. So I am really, really impressed. I know that Mike Sears is probably happy to see a Batman-related book on number one on the list. Get this, a high sale. That's a pre-sale, a pre-CGC 9/8 slab is sold for $130. So that's a bit crazy and intense. You know, a lot of spec hype there. You know, you could argue that that kind of buy could be somebody that's wanting to spec on this book to flip, but for whatever reason, the bottom line is so many different types of collectors are buying this book, and I love it. It's I want to see with whatever DC is going on. I know we're going to be losing some titles and whatnot, but I think overall what they've been doing with Batman and bringing the characters into this metal run in the metal world has been extremely successful. Regardless of what you think of anything else going on right now when it comes to new releases.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was the Batman Who Laughs is such a success. Knowing that the Robin King's first appearance is this issue, everybody's just like, I need to get on this character. And for those of you who have read it know how dark it is. Those of you who haven't, I suggest you read it. It's an easy jumping on point to just pick it up and read it. It kind of blew me away at just how dark and evil and twisted it is. So kudos to Scott Snyder and the DC team. I thought it was an excellent issue, and not surprised to see it at the number one spot. But that there ends our top 10 hottest comics of the week. Chris again did an amazing job of just dissecting the top 3 picks. And I honestly, that Bounty Hunters number one, that cover is amazing. I think that cover is absolutely. Wow. But we'll have more to talk about next. Oh, sorry. What's that, Chris?
Yeah, we did have I forgot to mention, there was a high sale of $18.99 on a raw copy of that Bounty Hunters book already. So it's sizzling.
Yeah, and it's probably just going to go up once Mandalorian comes out. So, but anyways, that ends our top 10 hottest comic books of the week. We'll be back again next week discussing the next top 10 hottest comic books. It'll be a completely different list because last week was a completely different list. That's what makes this all so much fun. But moving on, we have a new segment here where we're going to do a CGC pre-screen. I myself don't dabble into the CGC that often, not as much as Chris does. Okay, I usually buy my slab of comic books that were already CGC, but this time around, I had a nice handful of books that I think are really kind of CGC worthy. And I wanted to just share those with you to see what you guys think. So, with that being said, let's check it out. Here we go. All right, so here we go. Here's the first issue. This is obviously Venom number 3. I'm really liking this issue. This specific copy right here. It is looking very nice, as you can see. Really nice edge right there. Corners are crisp and sharp. Right now, the back is looking good as well. Really nice. Really happy with this copy. See, but the one thing here is this corner right down here. See where my thumb is? There's a little bit of a crease, color break right down there. Not even sure you can see it on camera, but that will be the one
That's the one flaw I see. And I neglected to say that I'm going to get all of these books pressed and cleaned as well. But I'm really, I have high hopes for this one. So hopefully it will come back in a 9.8. All right, moving on. The next issue here, this is a very rare first appearance of a character that is about to blow up. And I mentioned her on the show, Kamala Khan. It's her first official appearance. Now, you can already see a few defects here. Bottom left specifically. There's no color breaks though. I mean, that cover is looking crispy clean. Corner's a little dinged up, a little bit. This is a very hard issue to find in a 9.8. There are 1,100 copies of this specific issue. This is a second printing, 1,100 copies of a first appearance for a soon-to-be major character. It's a little dinged up down here on the corner. Corner here is looking very nice. Back is looking great. Not much going on there. Actually, I'm sorry. This is not looking too great down here. I'm hoping that could be pressed out a little bit. But it's still in really good condition. So again, I have high hopes for this. If not a 9.8, I'm hoping 9.6. Again, 1,100 copies for the first appearance of Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel. Very hard to find copy in a 9.8. And you'll see a theme here, because here is the regular version, 9.8, and already you can see a few flaws right here. But I'm thinking that a press is going to have it's going to have a great benefit for it. There's no ticks, no color breaks at all. Actually, there's one maybe down here. These issues are hard to find in a 9.8 as well. However, there are 33,000 copies of this. That's still a low print run. If you compare that to Miles Morales' first appearance, this is a little dinged up right here. Right there, you can see that. If you compare this to Miles Morales' first appearance, he had 77,000 copies, 77,000 print run. So, again, hoping this can all be pressed out. There are not any major defects. Yeah. So once again, all right, moving on. This is another blue copy. This one's a little bit warm, as you can see. Look at that top corner right there. Hopefully, again, a press is gonna help that one out. The bottom corner's a little dinged right there. Got a little bit going on there as well, but hopefully a press would be able to bring that back to its original luster. You can see a little bit of some sort of a crease back here, all the way down the book. Hoping that'll get pressed out, and then in this corner as well. And then another red label copy. This one, few little color breaks on the spine, just a few. Little dinged up corner right there. Maybe a little indentation in the top right. Bottom left is looking good. Back is looking good. As you can see. But again, this will benefit from a press as well.
All right, so those are the books I'm going to be sending into CGC. I'm kind of excited for them. Chris, you're kind of a veteran when it comes to this. I'm definitely not in your level or league. Those are not perfect books by any means, but they are rare. I saw Mike Sears. At the end of the day, it's still a new comic, yes, but it's a hot character in Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel, and two of those books are only a print run of 1,100.
And high grade, rare to be in those high grades. Yeah.
So I'm excited. All right, they're off right now. They're being pressed. Hopefully, we'll get them back in good condition, and CGC is gonna be like, these are minty fresh, because they are going to be sought after books. I'm super excited about them, and I love Kamala Khan as a character too.
I'll tell you, that Venom 3, I think has a great chance of getting that 9.8, and it's tough sometimes with white white books like that, white covers like that. And then, I saw a couple in there that, just looking at them right now, probably would lean more around a 9.0 to a 9.2. But I think to your benefit, the defects that we see seem to be defects that can definitely be pressed out. So I do see at least probably, I'm going to guess, hopefully, you have your books in good hands with whoever you is handling the pressing and cleaning. But I definitely see the potential for 3 of those books to get that. I think it's going to be a tough for a couple of them. And then one thing that we talked about earlier too is on those edges of the spine. For the new books, CGC can look at those and see them as cuts. Instead of blunted corners. So, that's something that can work in your favor. Hopefully you get a grader that can kind of, be conservative with that. But I think overall, I think you're going to be excited and happy when these books come back.
Well, you all be the first to know, including me. So we'll do a sorry about the sirens. We'll do a grading reveal once they come back, which hopefully doesn't take too long. Collecting Chaos. I know they're rare. I know why they're rare. You got them all. Okay. Mike Sears, what are they worth? So, Mike, we all know what Null is doing with Venom #3. That I don't know off the top of my head what a 9.8 goes for with that. It's pretty good, but a 9.8 in the Kamala Khan, the Marvel Point 1 blue label is going for $2,000. In the red label, it's going for $800. I didn't pay anywhere near that for any of those. So those are definitely going to be sought after. They're not only sought after now, but once they announce the lead actress who's playing Kamala Khan in the Disney Plus series, they're going to go through the roof. On top of the fact that the video game, the Avengers video game, which she stars in, she's the lead, is coming out next month. So I know Mike says he wouldn't personally send them in. I would sell them or trade them for a real rare vintage comic. Those are rare. Like Miles Morales is not rare, but that's going to be a sought after one. And Chris says it all the time. It's this generation's or this time's Hulk 181. And I'm giving him credit. I didn't believe him at first, but seeing those prices, they're consistent right now. You don't hear much about it, but they're not dropping.
Yeah. Hey, so, two things. One, to that point, we are going to show on this show soon. I will bring this up again, but I think it was on our first episode we ever did, Jeff, maybe our second. I talked about knowing this guy that has a long box full of Ultimate Fallout Fore, and I said, watch, this guy is going to be able to retire. And we're gonna come back to that. Maybe we can do that next week. But we're gonna come back to that because I'm gonna show you guys something amazing and it's awesome. Secondly, go ahead.
No, it blows my mind. A long box of Ultimate Fallout #4. Okay, those are not vintage. I mean, those are not vintage comic books. But you say he could buy a house. Hey, before you move on anymore, I got to give a quick shout out to K Titus. He is always supporting us, always saying hello. K Titus. Absolute pleasure having you on. Konnichiwa from Japan. Thank you, as always, for supporting, watching our stuff. Really appreciate it. Continue, please, Chris.
Yeah, I did want to say that this is an individual that I personally know because he's posted on Facebook. He's had these books since they came out. So, but on top of that, I did want to let everyone know that the last 8 sales of 9.8 Venom 3s have the average sale $400.
Yeah, I mean, and the King in Black is coming, guys. He's instilled in the Marvel universe, and if he ever sniffs the movie screen, whoo, that thing is gonna blow up. All right, I don't know if we have much time. Chris has family coming over to celebrate the birthday. Real quick, Bishner has a request. Can we see that Hulk 251 time? The cover was awesome.
Oh, man.
Digging through that. Here we go. I have an announcement to make too. Hold on. That's fine. Because, we're talking about these spec books. We're talking about what's vintage, what's rare. there are books that you guys are going all in on, right? We want to know what those books are. This is your call to action for next week's show. It's Comic Book Canon's All In CBC. Hashtag All In CBC. Send us your comic books that you are going all in to either flip, use it as an investment, to try and get bigger books. Please let us know. We're going to have a very special guest discussing what they're all in on next week, and we'll be talking about what you're all in on and giving our kind of assessment. We're very excited about this segment. Once again, hashtag All In CBC. Please send them to @Comic Book Canon, our Instagram. Tag us, hashtag that. We would really love to talk about your books as well as ours. Chris, I guess you're still Bishner.
Man, yeah. I got a couple things here because to the hashtag, well, how about you? Are you all in on something right now?
I mean, I think I just showed it. The Kamala Khan all in on, man. Like I would suggest all you guys. I know Mike Sears doesn't believe this. He thinks it's a bubble with this, but like that is a low print run. 33,000 for the red, 1,100 for the blue is super, super low. She's the future of the Marvel Universe with Miles and Riri. Guys, I cannot tell you enough. That's what I believe. You guys do the research on your own and try and figure that out on your own. But that's what I'm all in on. There we go.
Beautiful Silver Surfer going up against the Hulk. Hulk 250. This kind of, I want to say, though, what I'm all in on, and B. Schnerd's going to love this.
Hold on. I'm going to take myself out again.
Because, like my buddy that bought a long box of Ultimate Fallout number 4s back in 2011 because he knew what was going on, I'm about getting my long box full of my Warlock and the Infinity Watch number 1s. Now, I tried to dig and find all of them, but it's such a mess in here that I still got a few copies somewhere else. So I am all in. But no, honestly, though, what I am all in on, though, all jokes aside, is Cosmic Marvel. And I just think right now, Cosmic Marvel there's a lot that's been slept on. You guys, if you watch my channel, I've recently showed the first appearance of Eternity. I got the first cameo of the Living Tribunal. The Strange Tale run, first appearance of Nebulos. Warlock is right there, and I got all the Warlock keys. I just added the first appearance of Warlock in the Strange Tales title. The origin of the Ancient One with the first appearance of Kalu. You could go back to Journey and Mysteries and how Thor's going to be, where his character arc is going to go in the MCU, and obviously just a lot of Doctor Strange stuff. Here's a mashup, the first Doctor Strange mashup in an Amazing Spider-Man title. The Multiverse of Madness with the Fantastic Four and the Eternals and everything going on in the MCU. I am all in on Cosmic Marvel goodness, and there's so much of it out there.
All right. Well, Chris just gave away what he was all in on, so we don't have to hear him talk about the segment next week. But we want to, again, remind you, hashtag All In CBC. Let us know. Hit us up on Instagram. Show us those pictures. What are you all in on? Again, we're going to have a very special guest next week discussing this segment with us. We're very, very, very excited to discuss ours, their picks, and your picks as well. But that is all we have time for today. It is Chris's birthday. Technically, it was yesterday, but everybody, wish Chris a happy birthday. Hit him up at Journos_comics. Hit him up. Give him some birthday love. Chris, what are you going to be doing right now? You're going to be barbecuing, hanging out with the family? What's going on?
Yeah, I was my mom's birthday present, so today is actually her birthday. Unfortunately, my parents are coming up here. We're going to have a social distance outdoor picnic, but it's going to be awesome. At least we get to, spend some time together. She gets to see her grandkids. So, yeah, hopefully it's not 107 degrees outside still. I think it's cooled down a couple degrees, but man.
Yep, we hope it cool. If not, get the sprinklers out and run through the sprinklers.
Right, exactly.
That's my suggestion to you. Once again, give us a follow at Comic Book Canon. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button for our YouTube channel here. Follow Chris at Captain. Chris, you say it.
On Instagram and Twitter, it's at journos_comics. On Facebook, it's at journoscomics. And on YouTube, it's youtube.com/journoscomics pop culture.
Perfect. All right. So next week, again, we will be back with a regular show on Friday next week, and we will have an additional DC Fandom special. We'll announce all the details this week. Everybody, until then, have a great week. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you a week from today.